Hey there, Thomas from Bricks here. In today's video, I want to show you what is new in Bricks 1.5. This time, today, for the first time actually ever, a release video for a beta version. So if you download this beta release from your account, make sure you only use this on a staging site, on a copy of your live site, or ideally just on a local site. And if you encounter any bugs, if you have any suggestions, improvements to help make this 1.5 release the best it can be, make sure to head over to forum.bricksbuilder.io, not Facebook. If you want to report any feedback that we can also discuss in individual threads that are easy to search, also for everyone going forward, please use the forum. So without any further ado, I will now tell you quickly what we are going to have a look at in this video. It's not really super crazily structured. It's just trying to give you a quick overview of this beta release. We're probably gonna spend most time here talking about the new section and div element. Then we're gonna have a look at the nestable elements, what we can do here now, and how this is going to empower you to create much more customizable elements, starting with the accordion slider and tabs in Bricks 1.5. and then also more and more elements in the future. I'm also probably going to have a look at the color palette. Something's changed there. There's now infinite scrolling available as well. Context menu in the structure panel. And a few other features here. The element classes. And yeah. But let's jump right into the builder, and that's not the builder. That's the builder. And let's have a look at those two new elements. So now you can see here on the left-hand side, we've got a container, a div, and a section. Prior to Bricks 1.5, we only had the container element. The container element was responsible for laying out everything. So you want to contain a group of elements on the canvas. You put in a container by default. It's got a width of 1100 pixels, nothing changed here, still the same in 1.5. Now if you want to create a section, and this was actually a really struggle for beginners, and also not everyone is studying the academy, of course, so that added additional confusion. You could do this by simply stretching your container, and then you would put another container inside of your container, and then you could select this container. I'm not going to use this now because this is going to insert a div. That's why I go this extra click step here. And then I would put in, maybe I want to have a 3-column layout. So I would put in 3 containers here. And then I'm going to change the direction to horizontal. And now I have my 3-column layout. That's how we do it prior to Bricks 1.5. Now I was actually very much against the idea of trying to introduce new layout elements, but over the last month, when we collected a lot of feedback from technical support emails, from a lot of discussions we had in the forum, but also on Facebook and in the team itself, it became more and more apparent that it's actually a good idea for everyone to trying to really provide a solution to break up those responsibilities. So if you want to have a full width section, you should have section elements. If you want to contain content in a predefined width, you should use the container. For everything else, you're just going to use the div element. So even though it seems maybe a bit more complex, if you just follow the logic that I'm trying to share in this video, I think it's going to make everything actually much faster to build layouts going forward. Not just for beginners, but also for people who use Bricks professionally on a daily basis to build client sites. So I think this is going to be super useful. If you want to continue working with the container, you can just continue using the container. There's nothing wrong with that. But Bricks itself, the academy, and the templates also going forward, we're going to utilize and always start recommending this layout approach that I'm trying to share with you now. So if I want to accomplish the same layout now that I have here with my containers, with my section container and div solution, what I would do now, and that's how the section is intended to be used, you would put this on the root level, meaning there's no other element around it. You just simply have the canvas selected, and then you just click. Let me maybe minimize this. Well, let's delete this for now. So you just click on your section element. You can click here as well, same thing, but I'm gonna click here. And what you can see now, it's actually inserting two elements here. So on the root now, I have my section, and you can see here, as it's being highlighted with this orange border or highlight color, it's covering the entire horizontal available space in the viewport, and that's basically what I previously did with my stretched container. Difference now is, of course, that I immediately have my label here, so I know this is a section, and the section element also has a different element icon compared to the container, which has a label of container, and it also has a new icon, which has this little vertical dotted line here on the left and right. Maybe it's not as visible here in the video, but in the builder you should be able to see it, indicating that this is a container element. So going forward, also when you build out more complex structures, I already noticed this actually it's hard to miss that it's much more distinguishable, the different elements, just by looking at the icons, and then also of course the labels, rather than having a container, another container, then another container level, where you always just ended up renaming containers all the time to make sure you know where you are. Of course, we're trying to help with providing this sort of like structure, the item level indicator and all this kind of stuff, but really you just still have to perform a lot of extra steps to get to the same kind of understanding of your structure just by looking at the structure panel, compared to now you just simply click on a section, you click on a container, and now to insert my 3-column layout, I click here on the 3 columns, which are now my div elements. Like I said, on the root I have my section. I want to contain something in a predefined width, which of course you can customize in the theme styles. I use container. If I don't need a full width section, you can also just put your container here on the root level. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you just want to follow the same workflow and the same layout on all of your pages and all of your sites, you can just use, of course, the section element on the root level. This will enable also something that is here available in the theme styles. Let me just add 2 more sections so you can see what this is going to do now. If I go to my theme styles, you can now see I've got my element, section, element, container, and element div. So you can set the width, margin, and paddings here for those 3 layout elements. Container by default 1100. If you want to change this to something else, if I change this value, you can see it adjusts here immediately. I'm going to clear this. I don't want to do this. And what I can do now, because I use the section only on the root level and I want to have the same spacing between my sections, I can just simply set a margin bottom here. Let's just say 60. And now you can see I've got the same spacing between my sections. So this way you kind of streamline your layout. You know exactly what to expect. Other solutions that use this kind of section approach also, they don't allow you to actually use the section inside of another element. While you can do this in bricks, I would still say just use it on the root level. That's how I would do it. But in the end, it's your workflow and you know your requirements better than we do. So yeah, but the general approach would be section, full with section on the root, a container inside, and then everything else, it's just going to be a div. Now, you might wonder how this is going to affect you now that you already built your sites with bricks, or maybe you have templates which are all container based. Of course, there is a solution for this, so you don't have to recreate anything. But let me just maybe bring back my container layout that I created before. Container 1, 2, 3. Let's change it. Okay, so this is the layout we used before. This is a typical layout you would normally have in bricks. You have your full width section, which you can see now what I meant before. I just click on my section, put in a div, and then everything looks nicely. I have my section with a different icon, then I have my container with a different icon, then I have my divs with a different icon here. Or right now in bricks, or prior to 1.5, this was a container, 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 container. And even though you could rename them, and you actually had to rename them, they still were using the same icon. So it was still kind of not really easy to distinguish at a glance oftentimes. Now definitely much easier. Okay, let's save this one here. And we're gonna jump to our settings. I'm here in my WordPress dashboard, settings, and then under general, there's the converter at the bottom. We already had this in Bricks 1.4. Now you actually have two options here. You can convert the element IDs and classes, and the action that we are going to perform now, we're gonna convert our container elements to section and div elements. And this is not gonna remove all of your containers. The container, if it's used inside of a section or on the root level, it's going to stay a container. But in our case here, we've got a stretched container on the root level. This is going to be converted into a section because it's a stretched container on the root. If it would have a width or a min width of 100% or 100 VH, the viewport width, it's going to be converted to a section. Those containers in here inside of the container, there's no need for them to be a container because they don't have this 1100 pixel width, so they're going to be converted to div elements. Let me just save again, just in case. And yeah, let's run our converter, and this is now going through all of my Bricks pages and all of my Bricks templates. So if you want to test this again, although I already said this in the beginning of the video, make a full backup and also just don't use this beta now on any production site. Use it locally, use a staging site, but not on a production site. All right, you can see the end, everyone is happy, and we converted the container page to the new section and div element structure. Let's have a look. Now if I refresh, what I would expect is that my root container that's stretched is now a section, and my containers in here are now all turned into divs. Okay, let's reload. You can see 1.5 beta. And you can also see this is now a section element, has a different icon. This is a container, nothing changed here. And those are my 3 div elements. This is how the converter works. There's really not anything else you need to do. If you have some existing templates, like in my case here, they're obviously all going to be built on a container element basis. As soon as you insert a template, any template, this converter automatically runs in the background, and it's going to convert your container layouts into this section container div element structure, okay? But if you import a template or if you export your templates and they are written in the container layout, maybe you work on some sites that are still on 1.4 and others on 1.5, nothing's going to be converted. It's only going to be converted once you insert it into this installation here, which is running on Bricks 1.5. That's the only time it's going to be converted. What you can also do, and this brings me actually to another point that I wanted to show you, rather than just converting everything at once, you can also just use the context menu and you can convert your section element to a container or a div, or I'm just going to show you. It's going to be easier. Okay, so I have my section here. I can right click on my section, and this is also a new feature that you will notice in Bricks 1.5. The context menu is now available in the structure panel. This was also to streamline the available element actions, which also now growing in size. Previously before Bricks 1.5, we had this little 3-dotted icon here, and then you hover over it, and then it showed you a bunch of actions like delete, clone, but this was actually really limited. And now, in the same way that you would click on a section here on the structure panel and you would get your context menu, you just now click on your section here and you will see the same context menu with the same actions. So let me move this container outside of the section so you can see exactly, I'm actually going to delete it. So all I have here now is a section. I right click, and then what you can do now, you can convert this section. Because for some reason maybe you inserted a section inside of another element and you meant to use a container. You don't have to delete anything. Maybe you already started styling it and then you think, now I have to redo everything. You don't have to. You can, using the context menu converter, jump between and convert between those 3 different layout elements. Because this is a section, I can now convert this into a container or a div. So if I convert this into container, you can see it's now a container. You can also see it changes the width because the container has this 1100 pixel width. And you can also see the icon change. It's just a container element, right? I click again. Now, because it's on the root, I can say I want to convert this into a section. So I can convert it basically back into a section. Or you say you want to convert your section into a div. Okay, now I converted this into a div. Now I can say, okay, actually I want to use this as a container. And now it's back to a container. And of course, this is also the same available here on the canvas itself. So this is also a really handy tool to just maybe create a new page. Don't run the converter through all of your pages and templates and just start using this on a blank page. Play around with the converter here. Let us know if this is helpful to you or if it's maybe a bit unnecessary to have this in here. I think it's a great addition. But as always, let us know what you think as well. And yeah, the wrapper itself, by default now, if you want to wrap something, it's just going to be wrapped into a div. And also you can choose what you want to wrap it in. Because this container doesn't have any, is on the root level itself, you can actually now wrap it into a section. So it's going to be a section and a container. Because this active icon now is a section, you can wrap it in a container or you can wrap it in another div. If you want to insert an element inside of a section, also you can choose, you want to put in a container here or you want to put in a div. If you don't select any of the icons and you just click on the label, you can see it's going to insert a div. Okay, after our container here. Just play around with it. I think, I can just continue explaining this in more detail, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory once you just start clicking around and playing with everything. All of the other options are the same, nothing changed here. You can copy and paste elements, duplicate them, delete them, and copy and paste styles. All right, I think that's everything I wanted to say about a section and the div element. If we go back to the changelog, where is it? Here, you can also click on the Bricks Academy section element. There's an article explaining the section element, and then also where to use which element, why we added the section element, how to use it, which I just try to explain. And same thing for the div element, although there isn't really too much to explain here. Okay, this is how the div element is explained. And yeah, so I hope this extra information helps as well. All right, next up, we're going to have a look at the nestable elements. So this was actually a big request and also pretty tricky to implement. And are definitely still some quirks and bugs, so don't be surprised when you start using now the nested accordion, slider, and tabs element, because they are interactive elements and based also on a lot of JavaScript logic. Some of the drag and drop interactions that you will notice when trying to construct an individual slide. If it doesn't work as you expected on the canvas, you can always just add elements by dragging them from the elements panel into the structure panel directly. But rather than just staring here at the changelog, maybe let's just jump into the builder again. Delete, insert, select our container, and let's have a look at our accordion. We still have our old accordion here. Nothing changed there. You can still use it, but if I insert it, you will know exactly what I mean. This is not nestable. Although this is actually a pretty complex element, and you can see here I've got a title, a subtitle, an icon, and the content. All I see here is an accordion. I cannot just say, okay, inside of my content, I now want to use an image. I want to basically just put in a div and then arrange my content in there for every individual accordion item. It's not possible. You can open it here, and you can define the title, subtitle, title, subtitle, and this is the content. And that was basically how we predefined it for you. Now, using the nestable solution, I'm going to drop in another section here. You will notice immediately what I mean. I can click here on my accordion. Okay, so this is the nestable accordion. Maybe let's just add some spacing between here. And let's close this. And let's have a look here. You can now actually see it, rather than just only having this accordion, you can open this up and you can construct it in any way you want. Now, because it's JavaScript based, there are some classes that we need in order to properly set up our accordion JavaScript logic. So for example, if you click on the item, sorry, not the item, the title, it comes with this class here. So this kind of stuff you shouldn't delete, but we still expose it as it is right now. We are not like hiding it anywhere. Just definitely want to receive some feedback, how we can maybe implement this in a different way. If you have any tips for that as well, let us definitely know. But you can see here basically I have my accordion, also 2 items. There's nothing here to really expand. Once you click on the item itself, it just brings you into this, which you can see here according from the icon. This is also just really a div element. There's nothing special about this. But you can now construct your accordion as you want. Okay, so I have my first accordion item here. If I click on it, it's going to show me my content. And I can set this up in any way I want. Right now I have my content here with a rich text element. But if I want to add some other element inside, let's just say, okay, I actually also want to have what can we put in here? An alert, just some sort of notification. I can just take this and then I can drag it below my rich text element. You can also see this is now available in the structure panel. And because this is just a div, right? I can drag everything in here. But now this is inside of my accordion element. This is not inside of, normally you would just put this into a container. You can now put this inside of this nestable element because you have access to every element inside of it. And then you can just create it and customize this in any way you want, really. This is the accordion nestable. Okay, let's just remove it. Maybe let me show you. Let me actually remove this one as well. Sorry if I click a little bit fast here. It's not supposed to be a beginner class introduction to Bricks, but really just to show you what we added new here. Let's have a look at the slider maybe. Where is it actually? Where's my slider? Let's just search for it, okay. Okay, slider, this is the old slider. Have a look. Okay, nothing here for me to customize. This is the slider. If I want to change something, you're really limited to the title, and then you have some content, and then you have a button, and then you would have to use some of the options that we basically exposed to you. And that used to be the slider. I mean, it's still available. We're not gonna just remove it in the next update. All of the like plain elements, you could say, or flat elements in the structure panel, they are still going to be available probably for at least Bricks 2.0. And so definitely everyone has time to transition to the new elements. We'll also see in terms of the converter that we can include them there as well. The tabs element, that's the old one, same problem. I've got my tabs here, I can click on it, and then you can start changing your title, changing the content, but you cannot put, again, an alert box or an icon in here. I mean, you could create a Bricks template and then use the shortcode element, and then, but yeah, it's all very complicated then. So, remove it and check out the new tabs. Tabs nestable. Okay, old tabs, and then nestable. And here, same thing. Oops. Here on the nestable tab, you can see this is the menu you can change. You have your title in here, which you can also, again, put in another icon, change the direction to have the icon next to the text. For the content area as well, you have your two content panes here. And you can customize everything to your liking. Okay, let's remove it. And yeah, those are the nestable elements and the nestable elements idea in Bricks 1.5. If you want to create your own custom elements programmatically, definitely check out this article here. It's going to explain the nestable elements, and then down below here, it's also try to explain the Nestable Elements API and how you can create your own nestable elements in Bricks. I'm not going to cover this in great detail now. It's a bit of a more advanced topic, but I've tried to write everything down here. What you need to set, how everything needs to be set up. the functions that you can utilize to create your own nestable elements, to populate them with some content like we did here. When you insert a nestable accordion, you could see it inserts those 2 items, all for the slide as well. It inserts this div and then a heading and a button element inside of the slides. And this is basically how you would create this via code. The render function, everything you need to add in order to make sure it's going to output everything inside of your nestable elements. And yeah, some other tips here as well. All right, let's close this off. This is the nestable elements topic. And let's maybe have a look at a few other things here. Namely, I want to show you maybe the color palettes. That's pretty cool concept now that I think also going to make everything much more powerful. You can now create your colors using CSS variables, or also any plain color values. If you just want to have a red or a blue color, you can just set it up like that. I'm going to show you how you can do that. Maybe just using my container. That's also actually one thing that changed here, especially if you use custom CSS. You might have had some problems with defining certain CSS rules because there were some extra CSS inside of the builder, for example, to get those element actions inside of the element. They are now moved outside of it. And yeah, this way now. That's also basically fixed the big problem with writing custom CSS for elements. So this is outside of it as well. Let me change the height because we actually want to have a look at our color palette. If I go here, have a look at my background color. I already have a few colors. Maybe we just check out the first one. So if you click on that one, you can actually see what I did here, which was not possible before. I just specified a CSS variable, which I called --color main, and I put this under raw. And this is a new input. You can just put in any raw value that you want. Like I said, you can just put in a different value. If I just want to have this as blue, you can just call it like that, and then it's just going to be a blue color, or red, or any other. What else do we have here? Crimson, pink, anything you want to put in here. Or what I did here with my global color, where I just specified my var color main. And this is actually coming from, let me think, I think my global custom CSS. Yeah, you can see here on the root, I specified my color main. This is the value behind it. And then inside of the builder now, I can just use this and use it as a global color, so I don't need to, which was previously not possible. I could select the color, but the color value itself needed to be defined on this color here. So now, as long as somehow this CSS variable value is exposed, like I did here, for example, in the custom global CSS, then you would be able to see it here in the builder and of course on the front end as well. Now, if I would create a new color or an existing color, so let's just say, I actually did this already here. Here you can see I have blue color. This one has only a hex color value. It doesn't have any raw value. It's using the default bricks CSS variable name, which is bricks color, and then our unique 6-character element ID, or color ID in that case. Here, I actually gave this already a raw value, and I called this color value, which is this hex value, I called this var pink. So this is now available here. This is how I named it. I can also rename this later on. If you just say for some reason you want to change the name here, you can just head over to the list view. The color is selected. So you can see this here, the little indicator. And then I click on edit. And then I change this to var, I don't know, pink 2. Okay, then I save my change, and now I can use this new var pink 2 also anywhere else on my site, not just in here. And so yeah, that's now possible in Bricks 1.5 as well. What you can also do is to reorder your colors. So let's just maybe change back to the grid view, and let's just say I want to have my blue color after my green color. So I can just take my blue color and I can move it here, I release it, and then you need to save, reload the builder, and it's gonna use this order here. Definitely, if you test the bricks 1.5 beta, make sure to test this properly, to change the values here, work around, work the slider, change the CSS variable names. So just really want to make sure that this feature is working. It was quite a big rewrite in the color palette itself. I think that, which is a view component that we wrote from scratch, I think has 1,300 lines of code, so it's not a small one. Definitely need to make sure this is working 100%. So yeah, if you discover anything is not working as expected on your testing side, then let us know in the forum. All right, back to the changelog. What else do we have? Variables, expand the layout group in the structure panel when dragging. This is also actually pretty cool. And quickly to show you. So let's just say for some reason you have your structure closed here. So I can actually not see what I have inside of my section here. And I just want to add a new element inside of it, but I want to drag it into the structure. Previously, you would have to expand everything before. Now you can just take your heading, move it here, hover over this section, and you can see it automatically expanded. So I didn't need to do anything here. So this just worked by itself. Infinite scroll, that's another feature that's now available on the query loop, but also on the posts element. Maybe I just show you this with the posts element. That's going to be a bit faster. Posts element. Okay. And then I say I want to show only the first two. And then I go down here, and then I enabled infinite scroll. Now this is not going to show anything here in the builder for you. We just want to avoid all of those animations and extra loadings here. Okay, but if I were to go to my front end, you can see it loaded 2. It loaded also 2 more because this is my viewport here. If you have a look now at the scroll bar, you will see that the height is changing, and as I scroll down, that more elements are loaded automatically. So I scroll down, you can see already the height changed. So now I have my elements here, and I scroll further down, it adds even more elements until all of my posts are loaded. In my case, I think I can see here, I actually also named this oldest, so you can see now it loaded all of my posts. This is available now as a new feature as well. And oh yeah, the global classes I also wanted to show you. It makes this now a bit more accessible. Where's the feature? Elements. Here. Show the element classes in the panel, and also you can navigate and select classes just by using your keyboard. Let's jump in. This is the builder. And let's just say I have my container here. Now, if you want to select your classes, before you always had to click here. Now, as long as you have your focus on the canvas, you can just click Tab, which selects now your element. You can rename it, and if you click Tab again, like I did, now you can see automatically my classes are expanded. And now, rather than having to go here with my mouse and to scroll up and down and then click, because I'm already on my keyboard anyway, I can just hit my arrow down key, which of course you cannot see now, but you see my mouse is not moving. Down, now my first class is selected, now the second, now the third, now the fourth, and now if enter, you can now see that it selected my class here. So now this class is added to the element, and you can also see that I can see a list of all of my classes down here, and I can also remove them from the element. I'm not deleting them from the database, I'm just removing them from this element just by clicking on the little remove icon. So if I have 2 classes here, like my test class, my test2 class, you can see they're now visible here. If I remove them, I can just click right here, rather than having to go here to see also which class is on an element. As soon as you edit your element, you'll already be able, you click here, my container. Sorry. Even if the class is not selected, you can see here the list of all of the classes that are active for this element. So this should help save time as well. Also, if you scroll down here, let's just say you have a pretty long control group open, like the layout group, and you scroll down, you can now see that not only the content and style tabs are sticky, but also your classes as well. So while you added something down here, you'll also be able to notice to also see all the time that you're actually editing this class at this very moment. All right, let's quickly have a look what else we can talk about, what I want to show you. There's a filter here on Bricks now, so this is just more for people who know how to use some PHP, but I want to show it to you anyway because I think it's actually pretty cool, and this is the precursor for the conditional display logic. We are going to use probably the same filter in Bricks itself once we start working on the conditional display logic interface that's going to be available in the builder interface itself. Just having a look at this filter here, it's called Bricks element render, and I know some people already use this because I think it's available since Bricks 1.4.1, and this is how it looks like. And you can here programmatically by just basically performing some checks on the element instance itself. You can see some examples here, show a specific element if the visitor is logged in. You would just define something like this. You can check against the element ID, which you can find as the screenshot shows you here. This is the unique 6-character element ID. You can check against it, and then if the user is logged in, the element would be rendered. So if you want to render it, you would return true, which is the default behavior. But if, for example, the user is not logged in, it would return false. Therefore, the element would not be rendered on the front end. In the builder, it's always going to be rendered, otherwise you wouldn't see it. I mean, you're the one creating the pages, so it's going to be available in the builder always, but in the front end, this is where this logic applies to. And there's some other examples here as well, but it's really up to you. Requirements and imagination, how you want to set this up. Everything that you can check, any check you can perform in PHP, is basically what you can rely upon. Okay. What else? One quick note maybe is that now the element render inside of the builder happens via the WordPress REST API. Previously, we're actually using the jQuery Ajax, which is still possible if for some reason you have disabled the REST API or partially, or the render is not really working for you anymore in the builder. What you can do, you can go to the settings, and then inside of the builder, you can disable the REST API render. This is only for the builder. On the front end, we just render everything normally with PHP anyway. But inside the builder, if you have problems with the REST API, you can just disable it and it will fall back to the default, which was what we were using before via simple Ajax calls. There are a few more options here that I didn't really discuss yet, but in the panel you can hide the global classes interface if you're not using any global classes for a specific site, or you don't want users to define their own global classes. You can just disable the whole interface. The margin and padding on the canvas, if you want to disable this element spacing, you can define it here as well, and disable it. That's also possible now. And I think that's everything that I wanted to discuss here in this little beta release video. Like I said, if you find any bugs, definitely make sure to let us know in the forum over at forum.brixbuild.io. And yeah, looking forward to talk to you soon. Happy testing and bye-bye.